Hey. All right, go ahead and pull out Populations Part 3. And this is all about mostly variation. And so you know what variation is, it's differences. And so variation is so important. It says it's key to surviving in a changing environment. And I always use the example, okay, what if you grew up and you became a neurologist? Would that be a good career? Yeah, absolutely. That's a doctor that deals with the brain. Absolutely. That would be, you have achieved greatness. Well, what if 100 people in your graduating class from Hewitt Trustful all become neuroscientists or neurologists, those doctors? Well, probably about 95 of them aren't going to have a job because there's only so many neurologist jobs in this area. In order for Trustful, the city of Trustful, to work, someone's got to work at Target, and someone's got to do the trash, and someone's got to work at the water board, and someone's got to be a police officer, and somebody's got to be the science teacher, like me. And so, in order for a population to work, it's got to have variation, because variation is key. Now, let me tell you why variation is key to surviving, for like a strawberry population. Because if all the strawberries are identical and a virus comes through and kills all the strawberries, well, then they're all going to die. But what if there were some of the strawberries that were different, keyword, different, and they weren't, it'll say out of the population of 100 strawberries, 5 of them had something different about them, and they didn't get the strawberry virus. Well, guess what? Strawberries get to live. They get to keep being strawberries because of those 5. And so variation is key. If the environment is changing, we need to be different. Some members of the species will survive and reproduce, like if there was a virus or something. And so it says these options are the raw building material evolution. If there's no variation, then they're all going to die. And think about potatoes. Y'all have heard of the potato famine in history. Well, potatoes were being made, and you got baked potato, french fries, hash browns. Just potato. And a potato famine came through. A virus came and killed all the potatoes. Why? Because they were just alike. Now you go to Walmart, and there's like 10 different species of potatoes, even at Walmart, that you can eat. And so variation exists between individuals and populations unless the population is identical, clone. So beside the word clone, write in identical. So this picture just shows a variation of skin color, and I always tell people we all have the protein melanin to make our skin brown. The number of copies of that gene, we all have the gene to make the protein. The number of copies of a gene depends on how dark your skin is, of a shade of brown, because all these people in this picture have a shade of brown from the melanin that they produce. Okay, so creating variation through mutations, and this is just another picture. These changes are rare, so when there's a mutation, and the shells don't have a mutation, but these changes are rare and random, and it could be because of the environment, such as, go ahead and write in on the side, cigarettes, UV lights, so tanning, whatever. Mutations mostly occur in somatic cells, right underneath somatic cells, body cells, right? Not your sperm and egg, but your skin cells or your brain cells or all your somatic cells, because these are exposed to the environmental stresses. Most mutations, unfortunately, are harmful, and so the organism usually dies from them. But some mutations aren't harmful. Some mutations don't do anything. Some are good, some are bad. Some mutations don't do anything to you. They don't affect you at all. But some variation is caused because of sexual reproduction. Okay, so sperm and egg. making a baby, right? Through sexual reproduction, the process of crossing over. So remember when we talked about genetics and meiosis, when two chromosomes cross over, like my black and red ones here, you draw in chromosomes crossing over on your paper. When they separate, look what happens. Look right here at the picture. The blue chromosome has a little bit of red, and the red has a little bit of blue. So the crossing over is where it says swaps genes. They exchange, right in, exchange DNA. They exchange DNA. Okay? The segregation, look right here. The chromosomes segregate. So there are two chromosomes in one cell, and then there's one chromosome in one cell, and then there's chromatids. So the chromosomes separate, and they separate independently. So segregation during anaphase 1 and 2, and that reduces genetic chromosome number. Okay, I want you to write in, they independently separate. The random fertilization of a sperm by an egg increases variation. It increases variation. So random fertilization is where which egg is going to drop. There's your anaphase, them separating. There's anaphase 2. Okay, so that's a picture of one egg covered in different sperm. Which sperm is going to get into the egg? Which egg is going to drop that month when the female ovulates? And so, girls have lots of eggs and one drops, and boys have lots of sperm and one of the sperm gets to the egg, and so it's random. Okay, so let's review these 3 things. Make sure you got it. 3 ways to increase variation through sexual reproduction. Without looking at your notes, see if you can list all 3 of them. They are crossover. Hopefully you got that one. Chromosomes segregate. And random fertilization. All right. Okay, so maybe you got that. Let's go back to our notes. Okay, so microevolution, and microevolution is going to be a change in allele frequency, a change in the percent of the genes, right? The genes, change in DNA or change in genes. It's called microevolution. So little bitty, 20% of the population used to be homozygous dominant. Now 25% are homozygous dominant. That's evolution. That's microevolution. But microevolution can lead to macroevolution. And macroevolution is where we get a whole new species, like a different bird or something. And so if you'll remember from the prefixes and suffixes, micro means small. So write that in. Micro is small. Macro means large. And so macroevolution is the creation of a new species. And I'm not saying a different type of animal. I'm saying there's this one type of bird and the DNA changed so much, now it's 2 different kinds of birds. And so the 2 different kinds of birds couldn't reproduce together. That's all a new species. Okay, so remember, change over time is referred to as evolution. So evolution is change over time. Change in DNA over time. That's what evolution is. A change in DNA over time. And so because the environment changes, the DNA changes. It says evolution is a scientific law. The environment changes from 1 minute to the next, hour to hour, day to day, just as the genome, that's your DNA. So genome, right beside that word, is genetic makeup. It changes. Genetic makeup changes. Okay. And then natural selection could also create variation. Natural selection, you know what it is now. It's where there's a good trait that's chosen for, or a bad trait. And so natural selection would cause evolution. And I hope this was helpful.